Hello, my name is Ariel Garten, and I'm one of the creators of Muse, the brain-sensing headband that helps you meditate. And I'm here to be on Passage to Profit at iHeartRadio.
Thanks for coming. So does a regular practice of meditation help your concentration?
Absolutely. So the most basic form of meditation is focused attention meditation. And what you're doing in a focused attention meditation is you focus your attention on your breath, your mind wanders, you notice it wanders, and you return it to your breath. And what you're doing in the process is two things. You are strengthening your attention, so you're keeping your attention on the same spot. You're learning to notice your distractions and let them go so you can come back to them. And you're changing the relationship to the thoughts in your head so you're not following your distracted thoughts. Now this is super helpful because not only do you improve your concentration, you also learn to get your mind out of all of those often limiting, repetitive, negative thoughts that we have that cause us to be kind of stressful and frustrated much of our day. So when you learn the practice of meditation, you learn to change the relationship to your thoughts, which is a whole lot of great things for your mind and your life.
And there are a couple things we're going to talk about today, but this first section of your interview, we wanted to talk about why entrepreneurs need this and what you actually invented, what your invention is.
So entrepreneurs, actually anybody, can really benefit from meditation because as an entrepreneur, we go through incredibly stressful times. You go through highs, you go through lows. You are responsible for everything, and that's an extraordinary amount of pressure. And it's your responsibility to keep your cool all the time. Meditation is a great technique that teaches you to manage what goes on in your mind. It can teach you to let go of those negative voices that say unhelpful things like, oh, that'll never turn out, you'll never do it, you're not good enough. You know, that mom in your head that just won't leave you alone?
I have one of those, yep. And a dad too, and sometimes they fight.
Yeah, so fights in your head, not so helpful. It really takes you away from keeping your eye on the prize. It takes you away from the ability to actually be in the present moment or focus on what you want to focus on.
So all of that sounds great. I'm a believer in meditation, sort of. I tried meditating for a year, and I was pretty religious. I did it, 20 minutes a day, sometimes twice a day for 20 minutes. I focused more on sort of a mantra rather than my breathing. But after a year, I gave it up because I didn't really feel like I got any benefit. So I'm here begging and pleading, what did I do wrong? Because I hear so many great things about meditation, and I've been I spent years reading books about it. For whatever reason, it didn't work on me.
So this is actually why we made Muse. So we made this device, Muse, the brain-sensing headband that helps you meditate, so that in a very short period of time you can learn what it is that you're supposed to be doing during your meditation and you can access the benefits of it. So most people have a similar story. They may not have meditated as long as you do, but they sit down, their brain bounces all over their place like, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing it right? And then you get up and you don't do it again because you don't feel the benefits because you may not have been actually implementing it correctly.
Wow, so tell us about Muse then.
So Muse is a brain-sensing headband that helps you meditate. It gives you real-time feedback on your brain during meditation. So the metaphor we use is your mind is like the weather. So when you're thinking, distracted, you actually hear your mind as stormy. And as you bring yourself to quiet, focused attention, it quiets the mind. So in the same way that we can wear a Fitbit on our wrist to track our movement or a heart monitor to track our heart rate, and it makes these invisible, intangible things really tangible and practical, Muse actually is a little device that slips on your head that tracks your brain during meditation. And it gives you real-time feedback to show you what you're supposed to be doing, make it trackable, and show you the outcomes.
So sort of an electronic guru.
In some ways, it's like a little coach inside your head teaching you what you're supposed to do during meditation.
So does it work with an app on your phone then?
Exactly. So it connects wirelessly to an app on your phone, and then you can go back, you can see how your meditation was, track, you have data, you see what your brain was doing moment to moment. And there's a motivational architecture that keeps you meditating and doing it every day. Because meditation's amazing, but only if you stick to it can you get the benefit.
That's great. How long have you been meditating?
So I was originally a terrible meditator. I was a neuroscientist.
We have something in common.
Totally. Trained as a neuroscientist, psychotherapist in private practice. I would be teaching my patients to meditate. They'd go home, they'd rarely do it because meditation's hard. I was a terrible meditator because my brain was all over the place, and it was only through the process of building Muse with my team did I finally actually get meditation, was able to sit down and be like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then all of those books, all the wisdom, all of it finally made sense. And I actually got a very deep, very powerful practice that's made tremendous change in my life.
It sounds great. That's why I've always been really attracted to meditation. But and the benefits just sound fantastic. How has it changed your life, though?
In more ways than I can describe. So the most obvious impact is the way I'm able to manage my own mind. So all of us have intrusive thoughts that cause stress and discomfort, intrusive thoughts that can return again and again and again. And through meditation, what you learn to do is simply let go of those thoughts, which sounds very hard to do if you don't know what the practice is. But you learn this practice of letting go of your thoughts.
So they just disappear? Is that what happens? You don't think them again?
You don't attach to them. They often return, which is totally okay, and again, you just let it go and you don't attach to it. So first you learn to manage the thoughts in your head. Then you learn to manage the emotions in our body. So most of us feel an emotion and then we're like, okay, well here we're on the emotional roller coaster, let's get super happy and super sad and super disappointed, etc., etc. With meditation, what you learn to do is observe your emotions as sensations. And rather than creating a story about it, oh my God, I'm so sad, this is awful, this will never end, life is terrible, etc., you're able to just say, hey, I feel some tightness in my throat, I feel some discomfort in my chest, this is sadness. You feel it for a moment, the sensation rises, it falls, it passes, you can move on with your day and your life. We don't end up making stories and narratives about the stuff going on. And so life becomes so much easier.
That sounds amazing. I did actually order one of your units. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. It hasn't come yet.
Can I borrow it?
I don't know. We'll see. But you brought up an interesting point. I mean, I've looked into these kinds of things all my life pretty much, but are there certain parts of your body where certain emotions are stronger or reside, like sadness in your lower back or something like that? Or is that just random for people?
So everybody has their own kind of library of emotional experience. Emotions are actually often triggered in the brain, so a thought will trigger an emotion, or a reaction will trigger an emotion that you then feel in your body. Lots of people feel sadness in your throat. Super fascinating to hear you say sadness you feel in your lower back. That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
It's your own body's library of emotion, but you know what that means. You know when you feel that sensation in your lower back, that is to you sadness. We all have our own libraries.
Wow, that's amazing. So I get that it's the part of the purpose is to be able to let go of negative thoughts or destructive thoughts. Does this work when you have like a really, really tough time in your life as opposed to just like a minor annoyance? Have you ever had a personal experience that was very, very difficult, very challenging, and you found the meditation kept you in a good state?
100%. So now it's important to say that meditation is something that you practice regularly so that when you need it, you have it. It's like going to the gym. You know, you go to the gym every day, then you're super strong, you can move your friend's couch without thinking about it. It's a practice that you do so that when you really need it, it's there. So for me, I mean, I have a 3-year-old. It tries my patience
every day.
Every moment. There's cereal all over the floor and milk on the walls, and you just totally, take a deep breath, let it all go, be in the moment, be there lovingly with him, and guide him to the next movement. It's a completely different experience than life without it.
So they should teach that when they do Lamaze training, right? Get you ready. So can you meditate anywhere, anytime? Do you have to be alone in a dark room, or could you do it on the subway, for instance?
You can meditate anywhere, anytime. So most people like to begin their training, alone, seated in a comfortable place so that you can just get the practice yourself. And then once you have the skill, you can literally meditate anywhere. And with Muse, people muse on the subway, on airplanes, and offices. We come in and companies have their teams muse together, for example. And so meditation can also be a fantastic thing to do as a group to create culture within your team.
Well, that sounds fantastic. So it's a good way to calm down excited corporate departments, right? And it'll take all the politics out of these difficult companies. No.
That may be an overpromise, but it can definitely start to get people relating more effectively and moving in the same direction.
Well, I like the idea of using it on the plane because kind of you're trapped there. So you can read for a while, you can watch a movie, but if you go like to the West Coast, it's 5 or 6 hours. What are you going to do the whole time? So I think the next flight I take, I'm taking that with me.
Awesome.
There you go. And if you get a crazy person on the plane who starts flipping out, you can just stick the headphones right on top of them and say, here, meditate.
Ariel, we were going to talk now about how you funded this project.
Dum 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 dum.
And a famous person who helped you.
Well, yeah, I mean, every entrepreneur is interested in funding. Almost every entrepreneur. So what's your story?
So I was very lucky to be able to actually raise venture capital for this business. Now, I have to back up and say that I was trained as a neuroscientist and a psychotherapist, and I had zero actual background in business. I didn't go to business school. I don't have my MBA. I started this company which was going to teach people to meditate using a brain sensing headband. And I realized at some point that if you're going to make hardware, you need money. And not just a little money, but a significant amount of money. Tooling is expensive, you're manufacturing in China, and you really have to go to market. So in the beginning, building the business, I had funded it primarily out of my own pocket. I didn't realize how much of my own money I had dumped into it. And then we're at the point where we were ready to start raising venture capital. We had our first prototype ready, and I pitched probably 50 investors without success.
That's a big number. But you stayed with it.
I stayed with it. So a key part of fundraising is your mentality, is the ability to not let the thoughts in your head that say, oh, this will never work, this is awful, they'll never believe in me. Don't let that shit get in the way.
So what happened? Why did you get rejected? I mean, it sounds like a good idea. You're a smart person. You've got an interesting, powerful product. What happened? What did they say?
So not every person is right for every investor. And it's really a matter of finding the investor who's the right fit for you, who's going to be the right stage. So we're at that point a seed stage company. Pitching somebody who only invests in Series A or B isn't the right fit. Somebody needs to personally believe in the product. For us, it really helped if you had an investor that was really into meditation. And you really needed to be able to create not just an amazing product, but really a business that was going to be significantly profitable for investors, not just for yourself.
I've heard often that attitude is a big part of this, that if you're enthusiastic and passionate, that helps you a lot in getting the money.
Enthusiasm and passion are massive, as well as having an incredibly solid business plan, traction, and the ability to demonstrate that you can really do what you say you're going to do. I mean, we're going around telling people that we're going to make an EEG device that was going to read your brain and let you do things. That sounds kind of crazy.
Yeah, did you have a prototype or anything built when you were out pitching your business?
So we actually had a prototype, and you looked at a screen on a tablet, and by shifting your brain state, focusing and relaxing, you were actually able to make something happen on the tablet. So we actually had this demonstration that you could really interact with things with your brain. But investors couldn't necessarily believe that it was going to be true.
But was it at the point where it was actually helping people meditate, or was it just a more general prototype where you would concentrate and move something?
So early on, it was a more general prototype. By the time we got to our Series A, B, and C, at that point, it was a meditation product. By our A round, it was just entering into market. But it was actually really early in the meditation market. So by now, everybody knows that you should meditate. Back, 8 years ago when we were pitching, most people were like, meditation? That's not the killer app. Like, come on, tell me what this is really going to do. Turns out meditation really was the killer app. Meditation really is the thing that makes people's lives better. Now literally hundreds of thousands of people use it regularly all over the world. We're translated into 5 languages. You can get it in Best Buy. This really is a thing. But it was really hard for people to see it back then. But not all investors. I was able to bring on one, and then once you've got the first one, then it's de-risked, and then the second one's easy, and the third one's even easier. And from there, everybody wants to give you money.
So besides having passion, a good product, a good idea, lots of drive, what other advice would you give to entrepreneurs about raising money?
So there are so many incubators and advisors around to help you raise money. When we were first getting into this ecosystem 10 years ago, there really wasn't the same structure. I'm from Toronto, so there really wasn't a startup ecosystem at that point. Now there really is. There are a tremendous number of incubators and accelerators who can take anybody in, teach you in a very short period of time how to make your business investable, teach you how to get traction, teach you how to go to market. So my best advice at this point is find an accelerator or an incubator, and they will set you up for raising money. Also, not every business is one that's appropriate for venture capital. So you really have to ask yourself, what is the kind of business that you're building? Are you building a business that's going to generate profit for yourself, and that's great and that's amazing? Or are you building something that's much riskier and significantly bigger that may be more attractive to investors?
So I was going to ask you, what do they want back? Do they want 10 times their investment? Do they want a piece of your company? What are they really looking for?
So again, it depends on the investor. In a venture investment, they're looking for typically a startup who they think is going to be able to 10x their money. They know not every startup will. And one of our first investors on an early call with us, he said, look, you know, of the companies we invest in, we know a third of them will just fail. A third of them will do okay, and a third of them will do phenomenally well. And then 1/3 of that third will do extraordinary. And you guys are the third of the third.
Wow, that's very encouraging.
Now he probably, to be fair, said that to absolutely every company he talked to.
But you
just push them
you put on your headphones and you meditated on that, and
said, we're going to be the third of the third.
So you're selling this in Best Buy?
In Canada, it's in Best Buy in physical retail. In the US, in Best Buy online.
And it's on Amazon, right?
On Amazon worldwide.
So Ariel, you have to tell us now about your very famous investor. When Elizabeth told me about this, I nearly fell off my chair. I was so excited to hear about this. So tell us about your investor story.
So I have a ton of investment stories, but probably the one that you're aiming at is the day that Ashton Kutcher invested in my company.
Wow.
Ashton Kutcher? Did you meet him?
Many times, and he is
Wow.
amazing. He's
You
literally...
know, that's that separation, the 3 degrees of separation
You are
thing.
now 1 degree from Ashton. He's incredibly intelligent. We've had lots of interaction with one another, and he has so much insight for the business, the ability to really see the product, see what consumers need, see how to make the relationships. It's tremendous.
That's awesome.
But how you got to him was interesting too. So could you go through that process again? Because you didn't just walk up to him and say, "Hi, here I am."
If I could have, I would have.
Yeah, I know.
So it took a few steps. So I was at South by Southwest, and I was talking to a fellow entrepreneur, somebody who was in the same portfolio as my investor, and he was from LA, and I said, hey, do you know anyone in LA? Because I think I'd like to look for investment there. And we were walking down the street, and it just so happened at that moment that the woman who manages investment for Troy Carter, who was Lady Gaga's manager at the time, was at the corner. And he said, well, here, introduce you to Katerina. How are you? There you go. You girls, you go talk. And so I went and I visited her in LA, and while I was chatting with her, I said, hey, and gave Troy Carter a Muse, and he loved it. And I said, hey, do you know anybody else in LA? So she introduced me to Abe Burns, who at the time was part of Ashton Kutcher's investment team. Went to his office in LA, sat on his desk, pitched to him. He was in. But of course he needed to get everybody else on board. So it's Ashton Kutcher and Guy Oseary, and at the time Ron Burkle in that first fund. And so after that, I had a call with Ashton, and it was about a half an hour call, pitched the business, explained what it was, and at the end of the call, he was in.
Awesome. So were you nervous when you spoke with Ashton? Or did you use your meditation techniques?
Yeah, it happens that meditation is a very effective tool for helping to manage nervousness on calls with super famous actors that you're trying to get millions of dollars from.
I don't think I've ever done that.
We come full circle, right? No, that's great. Another reason why the Muse is an excellent product if you're an entrepreneur. So I can't wait to try it. So.
But you also told me that you're very self-forward. So you'll go up to people and introduce yourself. You're not afraid of people.
I am not afraid of people at all. And I think that was a trait that I had even when I was younger. I didn't have a lot of social anxiety. But again, it's one of the tools that meditation gives you, the ability to recognize that the fear that you have when you face somebody is just silly. It's just meaningless. We're all just human beings talking to each other. And that anxiety that you might feel around somebody's response or their perceived judgment, they're all just stories. They're all just narratives that you can let go and you can give up. And you can go up to anybody you want and strike up a conversation with another human. I mean, I'm in the plum position of being able to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I make this really cool brain sensing headband that helps you meditate. Do you want to talk to me? And like 100% of the time, the answer is yes. But frankly, we're all interesting human beings. We all have meaningful things to share. We all have great insights. We can all make conversation. So don't be afraid to just go up to somebody, buy them a coffee, chat with them, engage, make friends. We are human beings, and our job as human beings is to support one another. And that's an incredibly important message that I hope to leave with everybody. The value of engaging with other people when they want to support you, when they want to come up to you and they want to talk to you, and the value of not being afraid to go up to somebody else and chat with another human. You never know where it might lead.
That's such a powerful message, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I to be perfectly honest, I have to work on my nerves a little bit. I think if I was speaking with Ashton Kutcher, I would be a little bit nervous. I have to admit that. But it is a wonderful vision that we could live in a world where we really feel truly equal to other people, and that we could all communicate freely and transparently and authentically. And and that's one of the hopes that meditation holds, I think, for us all. If we can release ourselves from this anxiety, then we'll be more free to be ourselves.
Hallelujah.
So that was very profound. Thank you for that. I think you're absolutely right. I want to bring us back a little. Could you tell another investment story?
You mean like the time the company was almost completely running out of money and it was my job to raise it?
Yeah, like that.
That sounds like a pretty good
Exactly
story.
like that.
So, having a startup is basically like building the plane while it's flying. And my co-founder Trevor would always use this metaphor. The plane is always trying and you are frantically the plane is always flying and you're frantically trying to like bolt on the pieces before the thing hits the ground. So we're at the point where we had 45 employees, product and market, people loving it, but I just couldn't raise the next round. Raising money is really, really hard. I had done probably 49 pitches, and it was my responsibility to feed all of these people and to keep the company afloat and moving forward. And it was literally on my 50th pitch that I was pitching to Li Ka-shing's investment fund. Li Ka-shing is the richest man in Asia. He has an investment fund, Horizons, which is their venture investing arm. And they had come to Toronto on a trip to meet a group of startups to just see what's around. And so Mars, who's the government-funded incubator in Toronto, had arranged meetings for Li Ka-shing's investment arm. And so we were brought in as one of the meetings. Selena Chow, who is the head of the Horizons Fund, stood there, and I in the meeting explained what this is, and you could see the moment when she got it. You could see the moment when her eyes lit up, when she stood up, when she got passionate, when she lifted the Muse above her head, and when it was clear that she was going to invest. And from many pitches, what I learned is the moment they start to say the word we, you are in. We are going to do this, and we are going to do that, and then you're like, yep, we are going to win.
So to go to an earlier point, it really was being a part of that incubator accelerator program that got you in front of this amazing investor.
It was huge. And I have to say, I've had so much support from the Canadian government and all of the infrastructure in Toronto's startup ecosystem. And whatever startup ecosystem you're in, there is infrastructure there that's set up to help you. There are programs, there's grants, there's relationships, there's networking. So as much as you can, try to become a part of your ecosystem and leverage and tap all of the opportunities that are there for you through it.
So what is your vision for the Muse? I mean, where do you see the company going, and what would be your ultimate goal?
So it's not just my ultimate goal. I mean, I have my two co-founders, Chris Amony and Trevor Coleman. Muse is now a company of probably 70 people across 3 offices. And for us, we're really creating tools and technologies that help you understand and improve the experience of yourself. So we started with Muse 1 that gives you real-time feedback from your brain while you meditate. We then built Muse 2, which actually gives you real-time feedback on your heart, your breath, and your body during meditation. So you can start to really understand all of your sensory systems. We've now added in guided meditations, hundreds of meditations from top teachers for anything that you need in your life. So if you have a problem, there's a meditation for that. You're on the bus feeling frustrated because you're late, we've got a meditation for that. You can't sleep, there's a meditation for that. You're an entrepreneur, there's a whole entrepreneurship and leadership collection.
Wow.
So it's really building tools and technologies that help you, give you the solution that you need at the moment that you need it, to help you manage yourself and unlock your potential.
So your dream is that every single entrepreneur or every single person in the world has this?
Well, it's not about Muse. My real dream is that every single person in the world meditates, because frankly, if we all meditated, we'd probably have something closer to world peace. Muse just happens to be a super helpful tool to help you meditate if you need to start your practice or if you want to get deeper into it. But it's really the magic of meditation, not the magic of Muse.
So some meditation groups meditate at the same time because they feel it brings a more powerful experience to people who are meditating together. Does Muse have any way of communicating between individuals? Is there sort of a group meditation app or something that you're able to do or you're working on?
So we are always building new things, and we drop new features every few weeks. We've experimented a lot with group classes, and there are actually studios all around North America that run group Muse classes. There's one in Hollywood, Texas, etc. So you can come into a studio with a group of 1, 5, 10 people and all meditate together, and it's a beautiful experience.
We actually had somebody on the show who pitched a meditation pillow that was wired to interact with other people meditating anywhere in the world. Do you remember that?
Of course.
Yeah, and I wonder, I should tell him about you, and you guys should meet each other.
Hook us up.
Yeah, because that pillow, he's on Kickstarter, he doesn't have it actually made yet, but it looks like a really great product, and I think all of these people that believe in meditation really want people to join with it and really spread it everywhere, right?
Well, I think it's a great vision. I do think that the world would be a better place if we could all meditate and maybe even meditate together. And I can tell you that I'm breathing heavier and in a more relaxed way since the start of this segment. So thank you very much, Ariel. And you are listening to Passage to Profit. But before we go, can you tell us how we can find the Muse one more time?
You can always find Muse at choosemuse.com, CHOOSEMUSE.com.